I'm Patty Pickett-Meyer.
And I'm Barb Pickett-Schultz. And these are our parents, Earl and Joyce Pickett.
I found my way to this church because our parents were part of the beginning committee to start this congregation out of the Beaverton Methodist Church. It was suggested by the bishop and the conference that we would start in this growing area in 1963. And our first service was in September of 1963 underneath the swimming pool at Sunset Swimming Pool. And because of the reverberations of sound and the acoustics, we decided that would not work because we sang really loud and strong. And so we quickly had to find another venue for our meeting spot. So we started out in the Leedy Grange, over currently now by Bales Thriftway.
Okay, I'm Juanita Free. We arrived in Portland from the Marine Corps. Wilbur was a fighter pilot in the Marine Corps career, and he read in the paper about the church starting here, and he called Jim Airy and said, "My wife directs choir and plays organ." And it wasn't long, Joyce Pickett came out and twisted my arm. And so that was it. And we met before that, they met under the pool over at the area. And then it was in the Grange Hall. And we were there for quite a few months, or a year or more.
Well, I'm Dan Green.
And I'm Betty Ann. And how did we find this church? We moved from Portland to Beaverton, just across 26 from here. And we were looking for a new church home because it was too far to go back to the old church and it wasn't quite fair to our children. So we wanted to find a church that had, that was probably close to the high school because our oldest daughter was in high school and didn't want to move. And so I looked in the Yellow Pages. And I found Christ United Methodist Church, and it was closer than the Beaverton Church. And I thought, well, boy, this is great. It's just across the road.
I'm Claire Pullen, and we were going to First Methodist in Portland, and we heard about the thinking about building a church, and my husband was head of the building committee, and Leonard Uppinghouse was building it, and that's how we started.
Okay, we began attending in 1972. And you want to know when we came? Mm-hmm. And we got here because first Sunday we came just to visit. And the next Sunday we were going to try a different church, but our son, who was a junior in high school, said, "I don't care where you go to church, I want to go where we went last Sunday." So, and one of Terry Steiner in that era were some of the youth, and they made Bill feel very much at home. So we came back.
Okay, I'm Bill Gaskill, or actually William Gaskill, if you want the right name. But I came here in 1968 and was looking around for a church to attend, my wife and I, Marjorie. And we visited a lot of them around, and we found, in fact, every other Sunday we went to visited a church, and the other Sunday we considered as a holiday and did other things besides going to church on that. Anyway, we finally ended up learning about Christ Methodist Church.
We joined Christ United Methodist Church in 1969. We just moved up from California. I transferred with a job, and we came to Oregon, and we met a couple that were more or less assigned to us to get us around, as they do now. With new members, they assign someone to look after them. We were assigned to a couple, Archie and Shirley Elliott. Many of you know Archie and Shirley. Archie's since passed, deceased. Shirley's still in the, where?
Oh, Newburgh.
Newburgh Church. And we came in '69, and we've been here since. We moved away for a short time. We're happy to say we're moving back.
My name is Josie Hart, and we moved here from Minneapolis. And we thought when we first came that we would just visit and attend a close church. We live in Rock Creek. And we visited around and decided we had been Methodist too long. We would seek the closest Methodist church, and that was Christ Church.
Jack Powers
Jack?
was a friend of Jim Aries.
Jim Aries.
And we started with, came here for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Jim was here.
Well, my name is Hazel Starkey, and my husband and I came here in 1977. We went to 2 other churches, and when we came to Christ United Methodist, we just fell in love with the people. Everybody was so friendly. So we made no changes. We just stayed with the church. And then we left 8 years, went to Minneapolis, and when we came back, everybody remembered our names and made us feel very welcome.
I'm Bill Repair.
And I'm Ramona Repair.
We bought our house through Norm White Realty. That was just in back of the church over here. Often they're right on the corner of Murray and Cornell. They had their main office there. And down the street, across from Cornell, was a whole series of buildings, and in there was Carol Foley. She ran an insurance agency. She was also a member of this church at that time. And our real estate agent said, you need to go talk to Carol if you get your insurance. So we went and talked with her and ended up, when she found out we were United Methodist, well, you got to come to our church.
I'm Wendell Steiner, my wife Jan, and we started here in August, it was September of 1971. We moved here. We came from a larger church, and so we went downtown to the first church down there, but went down there once or twice, something like that. But we had 4 teenagers at that time, and we were looking for a church closer to home. We lived in Somerset West, and we were looking for a place close to home so that the kids could have get into UMF. Yeah,
Youth Fellowship.
Youth Fellowship. With a minimum amount of driving. And we walked in here and met Asa Mundell. And he greeted us, and we started here, and welcome. I mean, we've been here ever since.
The rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Oh. We're Cliff and Sandy Hildebrand. We came to the church in 1974. We were looking for a church to attend and had gone somewhere else, and then when we came here we found that this was a much friendlier place. We knew the Buskirks, and that's always nice to have someone there that you know. The other church didn't have a Sunday school going on during church, and we just felt comfortable here. And that's why we started coming here.
The Buskirks were friends of ours from Walnut Creek, California. And when they moved up here and found out then that we were going to move up here, Lita said, oh, you have to visit Christ Church. Well, unfortunately, we didn't come here first, but the church we had attended just for 1 week didn't have Sunday school for the kids during the church service. And for our kids, that was not good because they were really wiggly. They were 6 and 8. And so when we came here, they had everything we wanted.
We arrived in June of '72, and in October we came to the AFAF part. AFAF was Adult Fun and Fellowship, and we came to a Halloween party, and I always will remember it because of Bill Gaskell and his costume, and then mainly Karen Dodge. Karen Dodge was pregnant with David, and she came as a big orange pumpkin.
I was privileged to be the secretary for both Don Colburn and Gene Walters over a period of about 9.5 to 10 years. It was a joy for me to have that job. I felt that I got more out of it than I ever put into it. But it was a great job. I had lots of hats, and that was fun. And our children went to church here and Sunday school, and were active in the youth group, and all of that tied into the job. So it wasn't really a job, it was a joy.
Well, being an electrical engineer, I handled all the electrical problems. And the big one in a church like this is always lighting. It seems like that every time you turn around, there's a light bulb that needs to be replaced, and it's up on the top of the ceiling or something.
The thing that means the most to me and gives me the greatest joy is to have been part of Altar Guild for many years, and preparing communion and arranging flowers for the altar has given me a great deal of joy.
We had the most amazing youth choir, young adult choir, folk choir, whatever we called ourselves back then.
Noise.
Joyful Noise. We did kind of like rock opera things and stuff like that, and probably scared some of the older members of the congregation in the 70s because we were singing rock in the church, but it was so much fun.
I have somewhat of a reputation for being a practical joker. I probably don't deserve it. I probably do deserve it. We had a party at Bob and Ethel Holmes. Members were invited. Large number of people showed up. Don Colburn, who was a pastor at the time, would go out in the street at midnight and fire off some fireworks. And it was great. Fireworks?
Firecrackers.
Firecrackers. Thank you. It was a great time every year. And this particular year, a friend of mine and I came up with a plan. Jim Drake was going to drive the car. I had a flashing red light that you could set on the dash, and it flashed. It was an emergency light, but that's not what I'll use it for in this case. We parked down the street from where he knew Don would come out to shoot off his firecrackers. And sure enough, right on time, here he comes. And he got down to light the first one, and we flipped on the red light and pulled up on him, and I yelled out, "Stay where you are, sir." He was really frightened. Glad was in, his wife, Gladys, was inside of the home. The party going, she said, she thought, oh my gosh. Now we're going to have an article in the paper about the Methodist minister who breaks the law, shooting fireworks. That was great fun, and it was one of many we were able to pull off. A lot of laughs along the way.
I'm involved with the membership classes in gathering the names of the people who might want to join with the church and setting up the classes. And it gives me a chance to get to meet the people and get to know them a little bit before they become members. And that's just a real bonus for me. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Jim Mary was a wonderful preacher, and he taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really, really like is the inclusion of children in our church. They're not ignored. During our concerns time, if a child has a concern or a joy they want to lift, they don't have to feel hesitant to do so. This is their church.
We had a class where some of the men in the church came dressed in their bathrobes and stuff and came and talked to us as in character as a particular prophet of the Bible, and that was amazing because, of course, my dad was one of the people, and he came as Amos. I don't remember who the other people came as, but I remember my dad came as Amos.
In 1980, after Mount St. Helens blew, we had, probably close to an inch of ash out here in the parking lot, and we got fire hoses from the fire department, and we were out here about, in the middle of the night, through the middle of the night, hosing the parking lot out to get the ash out. And if I recall rightly, that was on a Saturday. We had to get it out because Sunday, church, people drive into the parking lot, and so there were several of us over here with fire hoses from the fire department.
And then you all went out to breakfast after.
That's right. We all went out to breakfast after.
And I just love the friends that we've made. I love cards, so we play pinochle here. I love UMW, and I've held about every office there is in UMW. So there's a lot of things that I love about this church.
I've enjoyed a lot of the outreach programs that this church has, and been involved in those things, as well as some of the sports. We had a softball team that we started maybe 25 years ago that I played on for almost all of those years, and so I enjoyed that again, the camaraderie and friendships that you make.
In the early days when we first started coming to this church, we both got very heavily involved in stewardship campaigns, and I found that to be very worthwhile, very rewarding. It also changed a lot of my attitudes about giving for the better, and we met a lot of nice people doing this, and I appreciated that. And also the weekends at Magruder with families, that was a lot of fun.
If we continue to be Christ-centered, family-oriented church, we'll grow. The young people, the babies, I'm thrilled to death. And I love Brett when he says the little ones in the audience that make a peep. I think it's wonderful because it says, we're still here and we're growing. And so if we can continue to reach out, bring in young people and welcome them, and not some of us old stodgies say we never did it that way before. Continue to be open to new ideas, we will grow.
I'm encouraged to see quite a few younger people, people with young children, and I think that's the health of the church is through continuing to bring in younger families, and I think this church has done a good job and would need to continue to do that. I don't think necessarily that the future success depends on a lot more numbers. The American way seems to be to measure everything by numbers, but I don't think that's necessary. But I think to continue to bring in young families and have the programs that we have is what's going to keep this church going.
And I want to see the connection, the family connection, stay and continue forever. This church, that's one of the principles this church was founded on, and I hope that it continues. I think the people that started this church, the ones that have gone on, would just be so happy to see where this church has come and excited to see where we're going.
And I would like to see more diversity in our church. We are open to diversity, and it could be the neighborhood that we live in doesn't lend itself too much to that. But I think it's a good thing.
Well, it's going to grow. You've got a lot of young people, wonderful young kids. I just love the children. And it's going to be very, very successful. And I don't think we're going downhill like I know a lot of churches are. It just seems to me like as long as we keep close to the Word of God, we're not gonna fail.
I think true to the hymn, the church is the people. It's not the building. And the people in our church are such considerate, giving people and accepting. And you can do as little or as much to participate here as you wish, and you're welcomed.
The thing that I hope we will always continue to emphasize is education. Education for everyone.
The area that I would really like to see grow is the Stephen Ministry program. I'm much a part of it, and I just really see so much good coming from it. And we have so many people in our church that have asked to be a part of the Stephen Ministry. They need a caregiver, and we don't have enough caregivers to assign to them. So I'd love to see that grow.
I like it because it's a small church. I don't wish it wouldn't grow too much.
I think people come and go here because a lot of them are transferred, and I think if we keep our 200, boy, we'll be in good shape.
I would like to see the church become more ethnically diverse. We live in a very diverse area, and it stands to reason that that should happen. I hope it does.
Go ahead. When I hear people complaining about, well, they don't like this, they don't like that, or the minister's not doing something right, and I thought, they want to leave. Nobody's going to scare me away. This is my church, and I'll just put up with what they do. But I've had no trouble. I've just had a great time working with all the ministers, doing the choir.
I think one of the things that really inspires me about our church today is how diverse, how accepting, how open, and how encouraging we are to so many different groups and organizations. And I visit other places and I talk to other people who are involved in churches, and they're amazed and astounded that we do as many things as we do here. I would love to see that the next 50 years of Christ United Methodist continues on that same bent, and that we embrace ourselves in the open hearts, open minds, open doors theory, and that we don't ever close ourselves off.